Okay, yes, we are live. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We are following up on our perfect home selling process. Last week, we chatted about how to price your home before putting it on the market. Today, we're extending that conversation into what kind of updates, improvements, renovations should I put into my home? When should I put it into my home? Are there specific areas that I might want to focus on? And then what to kind of expect in the way of return on that investment. We're going to bring Chase Hodgson from Summit Funding on. And today we get to leverage even more of your expertise on the appraisal side.
Yeah, we'll see. I get older, my memory gets worse. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, looking forward
Well,
to it. It'll be a fun conversation.
share with the audience just a little bit more, because normally you're always speaking to the lending side and kind of your history on the appraisal side, because I think that's really going to come in. Well, I know it's going to come in heavily today.
Yeah, and it's not just appraisal. I actually started before there, right? Like my family owned a floor covering store in this valley for 40 years. So I grew up around, builders, contractors, subcontractors, developers. That was our friends and family group. And then, my degrees in economics. And so, market statistics and all of that has always kind of been something that I enjoy, which kind of led me to the appraisal. And I did an apprenticeship and was an appraiser in this valley for about a decade. Did a lot of work here, McCall, Cascade, Sun Valley, so all different price points and markets. And then 2008, the crash happened, and they instituted AMCs, and I decided, oh, I don't like this new format. It is way better for
Yeah.
those of you looking to get back into appraisal. But when they first instituted the appraisal management companies, it was a pretty difficult and clunky process.
Yeah, yeah. So they're going to get audience is going to get perspective from a number of different perspective. We want to provide value to you so that you're not putting money into your home and not getting a return, not getting frustrated. Maybe I should have put it over here instead of over there. So we're going to cover a lot of ground today. Very quickly, a couple of quick housekeeping items here, real briefly. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, also known as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today is the perfect home selling process. We've spent the better part of the last couple of decades mapping out how to make the home selling process obviously not perfect, but as perfect as we can get it by introducing a lot of different tools, techniques, value, even in the way of providing as a promotion right now up to $500 at closing on your appraisal through Summit Funding. Actually, that'll be on your purchase, and then up to $500 on your pre-listing home inspection. So to minimize cost and still confidence in the sale, and then just a myriad of other tools and things that we bring to the table to make that transition out of your current home into your next home more pleasant and cost effective. So with that, I'll bring Chase back on. I guess the one thing that I wanted to just chat about briefly is, we've seen these metrics of X dollars in, Y dollars back from a return on investment. And I think sometimes they can be a little misleading. I don't know that I've ever seen, you always get 75% of, of your investment in your kitchen. That's not how I've typically seen that play out. What's your thoughts on that?
And no, exactly right. There's so many factors that come into play there. What it is that you're putting your money towards, right? There's different rates of return for different, things that you're doing to your home. And then there's also, you know, what the market's saying, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a simple example, and we're actually kind of seeing this change here in the Valley, but back when I was appraising, pools were very few and far between here in Idaho, so they didn't add a ton of value to your home. But in California, they add a ton of value. Comparatively, a shop here would add a lot of value to your property, right? Because that's, we live outdoors and have toys and things like that. Whereas in a place like California, that wouldn't add a ton. So it really, the market helps define um, what those dollars of return are, and then different pockets, different neighborhoods
Hmm.
look at different things, and so it's a moving target,
Perfect.
and so you try to identify the things that typically give you the highest return.
Yeah, excellent. You're speaking exactly to how I mapped out our overlay. So I was hoping that that's what you would say, because that's really the gist of what we wanted to get to. There's so many nuances that the sooner you engage, with Chase and I and the team that we assemble, the sooner we can help you assess as per your specific requirements and objectives, because it's not an all-encompassing recommendation, right? Everybody's going to have some slight different nuances. So the sooner we can have that conversation, rather than what typically happens is, not typically, but often, all too often, a seller does this, does that, gets their house, does these things, and then enlists our help, and then says, "Oh, that really didn't get me what I what I thought it would. That really
Right.
wasn't helpful." So either time or money or more is wasted potentially. So anyway, that's
I, I would compare it to like on the buy side, right? Somebody that might need a little bit of help with their credit, and they go start and doing all of these things on their own,
mm-hmm.
not knowing actually how that's going to affect the credit, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
specificity matters, market matters. You don't want to go throwing good money to the wrong thing, right? And you want to be able to enhance the return that you get on your sell.
yeah. So the first slide here is, when do I put money into my home? And we've talked about this a little bit in prior episodes, but really deferred maintenance things, just do it. you know
Always.
that's going to be a given. Like, one, it's going to help save the life expectancy of things that you're maintaining, like your furnace, your AC, things like that. And then it's just going to be expected from a buyer that your home has been maintained as long as you've owned it, and that the age of the home is actually going to be represented in the degree in which it's expected to be
Yeah,
kept up.
on the appraisal side, they call that. So there's a couple different ways that you can look at it. They look at updating and remodeling, and they look at conditions separately. And so when you're talking about the age of the home, that's a perfect lead into that, because basically updating, remodeling can take years off of your house. Doing the deferred maintenance and stuff it makes it look younger. It's like a facelift, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it makes it look younger. Not only does it market better, but it goes to condition of the home, which is actually a dollar value that the appraiser will adjust.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely just plan on those costs. It's just part of home ownership, kind of like your car, right? Don't defer maintenance on your car. The other thing I would say is, do you want to put money in, and is it a personal benefit to you? Are you putting this money in because you want to live in the home with a nicer kitchen, with nicer bathroom, more convenient, features or whatever? You know, it. So do that when it makes sense that you want to do that for yourself, and talk
Hmm.
to us about how that translates to selling your home in the future, because they can be two totally different things, or they can kind of be in alignment.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, what is your plan with the home, right? How long do you
Hmm.
plan on being there?
Hmm.
Um, a- and then that will help, financially decide whether it's a good investment or not.
Yeah.
And then for you, like, first and foremost, if you're living there and you're raising your family or whatever it is there, and you plan on staying there, and you want to, and this makes you more comfortable and more happy with your property, then
Yeah.
yeah, definitely look into that, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything that'll take away from your value down the road, because most of the time everybody sells at some point. But understanding your timeline before you start all that stuff is super important.
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing that I wanted to share on the when do I, and it's the thought of, hey, my home is, I'm just going to use approximately 20 years old for right now, right? Because now you've got a buyer that's going to be looking at your roof. They're going to be looking at your mechanicals, right? Your furnace, your AC, um, just things that are going to be high cost items. and it's going to depend on how strong the market is, right? If it's a kind of
Yeah.
a buyer seller market, the buyer's going to expect that a 20-plus-year-old, they don't want to buy a home and plan on putting a new roof, a new furnace, a new AC. That's a lot of cost. Now, if it's a seller's market and it's very competitive, they're going to have to kind of overlook that a little bit and say, hey,
Yeah.
the
I'm
sellers.
seeing it right now. I've got a client that's offered on 4 houses right now in that 400 to 450 range, and he keeps losing out, right? And so you're looking at homes with less updating, less regular maintenance, less, and some of those items that you're having to overlook in order to try and win a contract.
Yeah. Yeah. So in a normal market, you might say, hey, if I got 2, 3, 4, 5 years left, I should just do it
Hmm.
because the buyer's going to expect it. But if the market heats up, as a seller, you might get lucky and just have a competitive situation where you can not have to incur all those costs. I mean, obviously, anyway, I hate to kind of get into that a little bit because I never want to pass the buck, but
Yeah, and it's also again like whether you're selling or not, right? Because it goes to the market you're selling to as
mm-hmm.
well, right?
Yep.
Like if you have deferred maintenance that won't um, uh, that will stop a loan, right? Like a loan type, like a lot of the lower end buyers use an FHA product, right? For different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
FHA, USDA, VA, all of those have stricter requirements as far as condition of the home and
Mm-hmm.
inspection. So if you don't do some of those things, you can limit your buyer pool greatly.
Significantly.
Mhm.
Right? Especially in entry level price point homes, if you got exposed wood, you got, roofs that only have a year or two left that can't get a certification to it, then
The
your buyer
most
pool
obvious,
just shrinks.
right? The one we see all the time, right, is cracked and peeling paint, right? You can't in a government loan, you can't have any of that stuff. It all
Yeah.
has to be updated so that from regular maintenance to large maintenance, knowing when you're going to sell and who your buyer pool is, and how that's going to affect you when
Yeah.
it comes to marketing.
Yeah. So with those little things, just do them because even if they're not, even if they're doing a conventional and that you could get away with it, it just means one, you're either going to get less people interested in your home or they're going to come in at a lower price because they're already calculating costs for them.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not trying to jump ahead at all because we want to definitely break it down into the ones that give you the most value. But there's a difference between adding value on the appraisal side and adding value on the marketing side, right?
Yes.
Things that are going to visually help you sell the home and attract more people. And if you're like to your point, if you're taking care of your home, then it clicks in their mind like, oh yeah, no, they take care of this,
Yep.
everything's going to be just fine. It's just like curb appeal, right? If you've got nice landscape front and they drive up and they, oh, this looks nice. For the marketing side, you click something in their brain right away.
Yeah. Well, it's the first impression on anything. It applies, right? You pull up and there's good curb appeal. The mindset begins to be, oh, this is an attractive home. Am I going to like being here? What about my, you know, commute? What about my maintenance? I mean, there's a lot of positive questions. If you pull
Yeah,
up and there's weeds in the yard or long grass and, you know, name, something that's kind of off-putting here, the
yeah,
mind immediately begins to start identifying other issues and the focus is on nitpicking. And that's, as a
yeah.
seller, not where you want your buyer's mind to be.
Right, exactly right.
So, um, where do I put my money into my home? Again, back to, is it for you or is it for resale?
Hmm.
And then where are your comps, right? And you can speak to this more, Chase, right? If we're going to if we're going to look at comps, have the majority of the homes been updated or not? Anyway, I'll let you speak to that one.
Yeah, it kind of your neighborhood plays into it a lot. There's a term that's called, or you can overbuild for an area. You
Mm-hmm.
can overdo it
Mm-hmm.
in your neighborhood, right? If you have homes of a certain square footage, certain lot size, certain quality of construction, the finishes and things, you can add to that and increase your value to a point,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then if you've got if all the homes are in your neighborhood are 1,500 square feet and you double yours and you're like
You're not
4,000,
getting it.
500, like you're never going to get back the value that you're putting into it, right? And
Right.
so you have you have to understand the environment that you're in, the neighborhood that you're in, and how uh, certain things are really going to get, a better value,
Yeah.
better return on your dollar.
So I think the short answer to our listeners is,
That
uh,
was not
what's that? Well, I think
that was
it's
not
once we identify comps, we'll tell you what your comparables are, and
hmm
some are updated, all are updated, none are updated. Then those are your comps, and if they're all updated, you're gonna get dinged. There's going to be an adjustment,
yeah.
potentially a significant adjustment, right?
Yeah, and when Jared's, as you're talking about your comps, your comparables, right? We're talking homes within a mile, homes of similar square footage, similar bed and bath count, similar neighborhoods. You can't go from a
Levels,
small
single
lot.
level, two
Yeah,
story.
levels. Yeah, that all of that stuff matters. You're going to try and match your home as best as you can, and then see what else in that mile radius, starting close and moving out. What they're selling for, and that's going to help determine. And then to Jared's point, once you see that, you can say, well, this one's updated. He's getting this much per, this he's getting this much for it. This one's not, and you can identify kind of a range of value that you'll get in return for the dollars that you spend.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into my next slide here is specific areas. You talk certainly addressing it from an appraisal standpoint, but now from a buyer's perspective, uh, it might be something that's trendy that buyers are really specifically interested in right now. Like shops have always been kind of a big deal in our area, but maybe
That's our
like
thing.
what's that?
That's definitely our thing.
Yeah, yeah. In this area, that'll help. Fire pits or backyard, landscaping, really nice high end landscaping, like those things. You would want to look at the comparables out there and see if the market's really interested in that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's trendy, um, but I would not do it lightheartedly. I would find out, is it something that is trendy? And by the way, in 5 years from now, could it be undesirable? Right? I'm thinking maybe pools or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I don't know the pools. I'm out on that because with the influx of people from warmer climates,
Mhm.
we're seeing a much stronger pull for that amenity
Mhm.
than we ever have before. It's interesting. We're seeing lots and lots more on them. So, but yeah, again, we don't know if it's a fad or not. So,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if it sticks around.
Some of our team members, and I'll try not to spend too much time on this one, but I think it's appropriate here because it addresses a couple things. Is agents sat open house uh, for a nicer home, and it had the owners had put in a pool and cellular, and I want to say they had put in like $175,000 worth into those two things. Uh,
Cellular. So you mean solar?
or solar. Did I say cellular? Excuse me, solar.
I was like, okay, what's this new thing I don't know?
Yeah, right. Whoops. Anyway, just real quick, your thought on the likelihood of getting all that money in our market from both of those at that cost. Okay, that's
No, you're
perfect
not.
example then, right?
You don't. And in fact, and I hate to be the party pooper because like if you're someone that believes in that form of energy, then by all means. But it actually is a hindrance in selling more times than not because there's typically second liens attached to it.
Yep.
They're hard to transfer.
How do I maintain it? What issues
They
do
come
I
out and
have?
tell you it's going to be simple and easy, but it's not.
Yeah.
The pool itself, and sorry for the landscapers outside here. The pool itself, those returns are increasing. But whether it's a pool or a shop is the greatest thing that you can have on your property here in Idaho. But even a shop, you don't get dollar for dollar back,
Right.
right? So the less desirable it is, the less the less percentage return you're going to get, from what you spend.
Yeah. So, have us help you try to identify what the return on that might be, but realize again, some of it might be just for personal enjoyment, and you can attach a value to that, whatever that means. Clearly, these folks wanted a pool, a personal pool. Their subdivision had a public pool, or not a public pool, but a community pool. And then the solar side of things, which is interesting because they only lived there for like a year or two. But I'm bringing that up because of what Chase just said, is how long are you going to be in the home? Like that's going to make your personal enjoyment in a year or two at almost $200,000, you're not recouping that. But if you're going to be there 10, 15, 20 years, like, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely want to look at the break even of some of those, so you know what you're spending and what your risk is. Because and a lot of people put them in because it does show up as a second lien, and then not a lot out of pocket. But those liens, when you go to sell, like you can talk to the agents around the valley. I hear it time and time again. It really has been a hindrance, right?
Yeah, well, especially when people think, oh, this is a guaranteed, because that's how it's sold typically, right? Is the guy at the door knocked on your door and says, hey, you want solar because your home's going to sell for more, and all of this. And, they're only telling you the potential upside. And,
Yeah.
My conversation with them is going to look drastically different.
Oh yeah, on that one specifically, and again, I'm not trying to run down solar. Yeah, everybody wants cheaper energy, but do the research. Like, talk to real agents that have sold those, and let them run comps and let them show you what happens in those transactions for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I broke this description down. I said specific areas to invest in, and or spend in. Those are kind of two different perspectives.
Yes. Yeah. Investing is, something that you're going to get a higher return for. And listen, that's a simple one, right? The best dollar for dollar investment in your home is actually adding square footage. There's nothing that gives you more value. And again, you're not going to get a dollar return for every dollar you spend. You have to understand that.
Right.
You still have to go to the market and look at what those comparables. So an idea to do that would be, if you've got a 1,500 square foot home, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and you're going to add a bedroom and a bath or a family room or whatever, add 500 square feet to your house. Now have your agent go look at, okay, now my comparables are 500 square feet bigger and look like this. Then you can see what that return is going to be.
Yeah.
It's not going to be your cost. I promise. It'll be less than your cost.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I hate to say that, but it just is.
Never going to be 100%.
No, but you're also looking today, right? And the projection is with real estate is, you got to look at it like a 401k. It's, you put your money in it, and when it's time to get your return, then that's when you look at it, not today, right?
Yeah.
So that investment will return down the road, but dollar for dollar, not right away. And so that's your best one. That's an investment. As far as spend, right? Like, there's things that homeowners do all the time that add a ton of value, right? You could spend $200,000 in landscaping, and it's not going to add very much value, if at all, right? Like, It just, it's either landscaped or it's not, to an appraiser most of the time.
Right. Yeah, certainly not one-to-one there. I mean, there's no adjustment to that degree. The other thing that I suggest people look at is more of what's likely to make your home sell better and faster. And what I mean by better is, are you going to have buyers that are giving you more preferable terms in their offer? Mm-hmm. Are the buyers coming to you faster with an offer, and hopefully multiple buyers? Because in those cases where we can get competitive, if you've taken care of deferred maintenance, if you've done the right things, and even if you have put in some monies that you don't think you're going to get back because it was for your own, when our market gets super heated, and people will waive their appraisal and commit to paying over what an appraisal value would be, then you can really maximize the equity. But that you can't count on that all the time. But in the case that you can, which interestingly in our market happens way more than most markets across the US. Like, we get competitive more than I hear a lot of. I mean, obviously there's other markets that do, and some that do more, but on a percentage, certain times of the year, we do really good.
Yeah. I mean, even in a slower market like today, we have price points that are crazy competitive right now.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
going back to what we talked about as far as like the number, because I want to make sure I get this out, but the top places to put your money. First, like I said, is always square footage. Second are the rooms with fixtures, right? Kitchen update remodels, bathroom update remodels or additions. Those things give you the most value. Um, when you look at the appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Outbuildings add a bunch of value. Uh, can add a considerable amount of value if your comparables have them, right. You can add a shop on an 1100 square foot house and not find a comparable, right. so,
Is you
so
can't
you're
get an adjustment because there's no.
right.
It's like, well, good for you. Just gave somebody a free shop.
I
Yeah.
know.
And by the way, if you want to put a shop, you better permit it because you
Yeah,
put a shop on there, right? You can't. As an appraiser, I'll let you speak to it. But my understanding is, without a permit, either on like a shop or additional square footage, you can't count it.
depends on the, like, all your remodels and additions and everything has to be permitted, according to building code, whatever the code is. So like in Ada County right now, you can build a pole barn without a permit, right? So
Mm.
that you can do. So type of construction, and a pole barn can have a concrete floor in it, so
Mm.
it's technically a shop, right?
Yeah.
So understanding how, what the codes are for the different areas is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just you got to pick the right things in the right places, and understand that adding value through an appraisal is also different than what Jerod's trying to do, maximize your value through marketing, right? Like you were just talking about, getting people excited and interested in your property and getting the emotional side out so that people want to buy it, so that they lower their boundaries a little bit. And those, a lot of those things don't cost as much money to
Mm-hmm.
do,
Mm-hmm.
but can be even more important when
Yep.
the client show up to look at the house.
Yeah, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I think it's often, if not almost always, overlooked. But when we talked about pricing your home, uh, I'm trying to recall how much time we spent on it, but I wanted sellers to understand that there are multiple perspectives we look at when attaching a value to the property. And you're right, Chase. From my perspective, what are the buyers looking at? What's the competition? What are they willing to pay? And that's all well and good, and I'll help the seller attach a price to it, and we'll go to market like that. But if I can't confidently say, because in a lot of cases it's going to be a finance deal, or even
Yeah,
a cash deal might say I want an appraisal too,
right.
as well. But if I don't consider what the appraiser is going to do, and we get a buyer on the hook, you might have been making all these plans. In reality, you're 10, 20, 30K off. I don't know, insert number here, right? But you have
Yeah.
to look at what the appraiser is going to do.
It's a tough job, right? Like I talk to agents about this all the time, and you and I've talked about it endless number of times, right? It's the appraiser. It's two different jobs. Your agent is trying to get you more money than your house is worth, or maximize your return on that property, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they can't go so high that they deter people from looking,
Right.
right? And an appraiser is actually looking at historical data. And the tough part for me when I was an appraiser is this, the main piece that we look at is the market. What is the market saying this home is
Yeah.
worth?
Yeah.
If you've got two or three offers for $50,000 over,
Mm-hmm.
technically the market's telling you that's worth that. But if they can't historically prove that, that's where the catch-22 is for the appraisers.
Yeah. Jerod, you as my agent go out and get 50 grand more than my home is worth. Okay, the market might really want it and I can really want to get it for you. But if I can't talk buyers into committing uh, in writing that they're going to come out of pocket for that cash,
If it doesn't,
then all bets are off because you get under contract, the appraiser comes in, sticks a number to it, and then everything is, all bets are off.
yeah,
And really, now it's a negotiation between the buyer and the seller. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are you okay with coming down to this number? No. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, are you okay with going up at all? No. Then the buyer could
yeah,
walk away and you've lost it all. But if you've played your cards right and you know that the appraiser is going to come in, or even if you don't know, but you get buyers to commit to that, then you can realize that. But you have to understand that stuff
yeah,
needs to be written in a way that allows you to realize that.
Absolutely. Yep.
A lot there, but hopefully that'll make sense. And if it didn't in our conversation, please reach out to us and we'd be glad to describe that, because it does happen on a fair bit. Part of my listing presentation is to show you the homes that I've sold over the years and compare and contrast the value, the value, the price we went on the market for versus what it was sold for. So we've gotten really good at getting over asking price in the competitive times. And that's what we attempt to do with all of our listings. Our ultimate goal for those sellers would be to pay for our commissions. I'd love either through an increased sales price, preferred terms, or in a negotiation. That's my goal, is to instill a sense of confidence that whatever was paid to me in my commissions was recouped in that process.
Yeah.
As best I can. So anyway, let's okay. I think we got one last topic here. Will I get some or all of my money back? I think we already kind of covered that one as we were talking.
If it's the right thing, you'll get part of it back. That's the ultimately that's the answer.
Yeah. Is it the right thing, and is it the right time?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, back to your point, when you talk about fads, think about how big theater rooms were years back, right?
Yeah, or formal dining rooms, or
I mean, things change, and so understanding, what to add and what to spend your money on is really, really important. If you're going to add a theater room right now, you better want it yourself and get that personal enjoyment out of it, because dollar for dollar, they don't bring what they did, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, if you're going to put it in and you say, oh, you want a theater room because you want it, but then you tell me I'm 5 or 10 years out from selling it, it's like, maybe you'll get it back, maybe you won't.
Make it easily convertible. How about
I was just going to say, make it multi-purpose, if a flex room, or it could be an exercise room, or it could be a pool room, or, give it some dimensions that gives you some options, make sure it's adjacent to something that makes sense. Anyway, so planning, talk with the group, get some insight, specify the timing, and then give it a filter of, is this for me or is this for my buyer? I think that summarizes everything.
Yeah, I think so. No, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, just communicate, talk to a professional to make sure that you're spending your money wisely. Unless it's your forever home and you're doing it for you, and just enjoy it. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. Then you're probably not listening to this podcast because you're not selling your home. But anyway, but well, very good. Well, we're about the half an hour mark, so that's what we try to stick to. So hopefully, in that period of time, we were able to articulate a lot of value in those looking to sell your home. If in any way, shape, or form we can be of help, answer some questions, please feel free to reach out. We have that no obligation consultation, where we'll just talk about your specific needs and your requirements. And if we can help and serve you, we'd be glad to. If not, that's okay too. We're always looking for friends as well.
Absolutely.
So cool. Well, as always, Chase, you bring just a ton of insight and value because of your experience, and we sincerely appreciate it.
I love it. Enjoy talking about it. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, Jerod.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, other than that, we'll wish you a blessed one. Thanks so much.